Kenya is in talks with Russia to promote trade barriers that have inhibited Kenya exports to the European country. Even though Russia is the fifth largest buyer of Kenyan tea, the volumes are low at a paltry 3.6% based on last year's figures. On the sidelines of the Russia-Africa Summit, Betty Kiptum spoke to Gatundu South Member of Parliament, KBC Business, about the negotiations, and this is how the conversation went.
Tea worth 5.1 billion shillings to Russia in 2022. This particular value is just 3% of total exports by Kenya to the rest of the world, and Kenya of course is keen to increase this particular tea exports. Parliamentary representatives are here to make negotiations on just how to ensure that tariffs are being removed to enhance the trade of tea. And we spoke with KBC Business, who is the Gatundu South Member of Parliament, and this is what he had to say.
We have been able to have some negotiations with the parliamentary system because with Parliament, or rather Duma, the Russian Parliament, and mainly is about trade and many other areas of collaboration that we could have between Africa and mainly Kenya and Russia. So mainly what we expect is that we have had a lot of trade barriers, both tariff and non-tariff barriers, that have been affecting our trade between Kenya and Russia. I would specifically talk about tea. And back in the country we've been saying that we want to make sure that in the next 5 years we are exporting 40 to 50% of our tea as value-added tea. And one of the things that I find here is that our tea is subjected to 12% taxes if we package or if we value add before we export here. And we also buy a lot of fertilizer, especially for that same tea from this area, because we buy chemically compounded fertilizer, and we do not subject it to such barriers and such trade barriers and such taxation that prohibits its importation into our country. So such are the issues that we've been discussing, and what we expect is that Russia, as a bigger brother within the Eurasian system, the trading bloc, are able to negotiate on our behalf within the bloc that includes many other countries like Belarus and others around these areas, so that we are able to expand the market here for our produce, including tea, avocado, flowers, and many other produce, even coffee, that we bring here, so that we are able to open up our markets into this space. We had very little tea coming here, and all the tea that had actually come here, because I was here in March, and I went through the markets and went and found the people who sell the tea and brand them as Kenyan tea. But when you look at it, you realize it's not our Kenyan tea, and the numbers were very little kilograms. I think we were talking about maybe 250 tons a year, which is very, very, very little compared to the 250 million tons that we produce in our country. So we will be projecting to probably have at least 15 million tons come to this part of the world in the next 2 to 3 years.
With a projected target of 15 million tons of tea exports to Russia in the next 2 to 3 years, of course it will be very pertinent for Kenya to ensure that those trade barriers are removed and tea exports are enhanced. Reporting from St. Petersburg in Russia, my name is Betty Kiptum.